How's it going, Yoga G Butch with Yoga Swag? I know what you're thinking. Wow, it's already been a week since his last video? Yep, just 1 week. So, what I've been doing is been working on the equipment system. Main thing that I was doing here was fixing some bugs that came about because of the way that I coded it before. So one issue was the iron pick would visually appear in both slots. And the problem with this is that if you equipped a item that did not use the main hand but only the offhand, then it would leave the iron pick there and then equip in the offhand, which doesn't work if it's a two-handed item. All right, so now if I equip an item that can only be in your offhand, it does properly unequip the two-handed item. You might also notice that items go generally where they're supposed to go on the person. Obviously not perfected. I didn't do any work to animate this or clean or polish it. I just did some general slot movement, and that's it. Other thing that we have here is the damage system that I've been working on. So the rundown of how this works is there are 3 factors that determine the amount of damage that's done. Aim direction, damage type, and then tool type. So this is specifically for the case of resources. Rocks, which is what these cubes are, and these are trees. Rocks are specifically weak to picks. So if I use an iron pick, it will do more damage even if the tool is assigned the same damage value. So it gets a positive modifier for using a pick. The reason I did this was to inspire or encourage the player to use the proper tool for the job. But instead of making it where they just could not use a sword to chop down a tree, I'm still allowing that behavior, just discouraging it. So in the case of this rock, right, overhand strikes will do bonus damage, while strikes in the left or the right will do less damage. In the case of this tree, overhand strikes will do less damage, and strikes from the right or the left will do bonus damage. Strikes from the bottom for both don't do bonus damage. So we can use this tree as an example. I have a hatchet in my hand. The hatchet, by default, does 15 damage. All right. If I swing from the right, I did a total of 29 damage, and that is because the damage type of the hatchet, it does a type of damage that the tree is weak to. The hatchet itself, being the proper tool for the job, gets another modifier for that, and then swinging from the proper direction gets another bonus modifier for that. Now I can use the same hatchet on the same tree and swing overhand, and it does significantly less damage, only 17 that time. I can use an iron pick, which by default does 25 damage, and swing it from the right, and it does 18 damage here. I can swing it from the top, and it only does 11. In the case of the rocks, I can swing overhand with an iron pick, does nearly 40 damage, 39. And then I can use an iron hatchet, swing from the top, does 14, swing from the right, does only 8. So, I mean, you get the gist. Basically, just use the tool, right tool for the right job, and use it properly, and it'll give you bonuses. This combat system also applies to creatures. I'm working on implementing an AI, likely using this guy, just because he's about the same height as a person. And the plan is to make a publishable demo for the combat system. So my goal here is to put this on Steam, not looking like this. Obviously, I'm going to get some art assets and some animations first, but put this on Steam where people can test my combat system, probably people I know since nobody watches this shit. And so people will be able to test the combat system, provide me feedback, and while that is happening, I will be able to continue work on the resource gathering and the village building mechanics, enemy AI, villager AI, that kind of thing. And so eventually, with the feedback that's given to me and the time that it's provided, once I have finished putting the village building mechanics into a state where they are testable, I will then release that as a demo, allow that to be tested, and while that's being tested, I will go back and fix the combat system. Basically do that back and forth probably 2 or 3 times, while also working on other systems to make sure that everything's, working right, looking good, that kind of thing. And the goal is to hopefully release a polished product that players enjoy, and it doesn't feel like shit. But, we'll see what actually happens. So anyways, that's the gist of the plan. If you got any feedback on that, maybe you got some other ideas, some alternates. You know, I'm not a real professional or anything. I'm just a guy on the internet. I'd love to hear them. If you got some feedback on the way the combat system works, or maybe something you'd like to see, maybe something you hate, let me know. And thanks for watching.